Hey, Rob, how's it going?
I'm good, Bobby. How are you?
Hey, I appreciate you. Hey, big fan as well. You and Chris, you guys kill it over there. So
Oh, thank
appreciate you
you.
coming on.
Appreciate that.
I got a lot of questions for you. I've been saving them. I've been waiting for this moment, especially to talk about baseball, because I want to know, because I have thoughts. I think generally the pitch clock is warmly welcomed by fans. How did you feel about it when they announced it versus how it feels now?
Definitely wasn't a fan of it. I just thought it was catering to non-baseball fans, that people who don't like the game, who want it to be over before it even starts. But I have to admit that it has. I thought it would shave 5 or 10 minutes off the game, but 26 to 30 minutes is significant, and I think that it hasn't altered the game to where I'm like, well, what is this? This is like not baseball. It actually is still the same game, just at a better pace.
And I think, too, if they never told me there was a pitch clock and I was just watching the game, I don't know that I would know anything was different. Just if I'm watching, it would just feel like a game that was moving pretty good. I don't know that I would be like, something's fishy here. Do you feel like you would know it if they didn't tell us?
Yeah, I agree. It just seems like the pace is faster. I mean, I wasn't that happy when we had early on back-to-back days where Manny Machado was kicked out for giving the umpire lip, and then the next day Tim Anderson. Now, if we're throwing stars out of the game over the pitch clock, then I'm not happy about it. That's not good for the game, and I think the umpires should work with these veteran players, so that they can adjust to it. Younger players have used it in the minor leagues, so they're more used to it. I just don't want to see stars thrown out of the game over the pitch clock.
When you talk about stars, I start thinking about, kind of the Mount Rushmore of the big stars right now. And Otani is probably, in my mind, the best player in the major league right now. What's the gap between him and number two? Or do you think, or do you even think he's number one?
Well, he's a unicorn, so yeah, he's going to be considered number one because of that he's able to do two things: pitch at a high level and obviously slug and hit at a high level. I mean, ultimately, is he going to win the Cy Young and the MVP both? Then I think we can really look at it and say he's the greatest player who ever played, period, and end the debate or conversation. We're not there yet, but I will push back on the people who think that Otani should be the MVP every year, regardless. I don't believe that. I think there has to be a context to someone's season. Yes, he's doing something that's incredible, but there was no doubt in my mind that Aaron Judge was the American League MVP. He played in a meaningful games all year long. The Angels season was over in May, and I'm not saying that Otani is still, not facing competition or doing what he did, but there's a big difference when you're 20 games out and playing for the division in September. There's just a big difference in how you approach your at bats in the game, and the pressure level that's involved.
Do you feel like he goes, once he hits free agency, do you feel like he goes back to the Angels? Like, have you heard if he's happy, not happy? And do you feel like he could be the first $500 million guy?
I think that 500 million is the starting point. It could be even more than that. And you got to remember, it's not just what he does for the team and in the United States. I mean, he's an international guy. When the in the WBC, when Japan played in the finals, 100 million people in Japan watched the game. Now, what is that worth for jersey sales? All kinds of other things that are going to happen when people take vacations wherever he's playing. He's on their itinerary. When I saw it in New York when I worked at Newsday and Matsui played for the Yankees, um, you saw all the Japanese signs on the stadium walls all over Yankee Stadium, and when people came on vacation to New York, going to Yankee Stadium was on the itinerary, like going to the Empire State Building and all that kind of stuff. So he generates so much money. I say that's a minimum bid of 500 million. It might be 600.
Mm, that's a,
Wow.
golly. And does it matter to a guy like Otani that California is closer to Japan than, say, a Milwaukee or even a New York? Because it's another 4 or 5 hours flight. Does that factor in at all?
I mean, he wanted to come to California from Jump Street, but I don't know if that's changed. maybe he says, and the people talk to him, say wearing the pinstripes like Matsui wore, and all the great baseball players, and your star would be even bigger in New York or Los Angeles. I think it's going to be between the bigger markets, New York, Los Angeles. It could be the Mets, could be the Yankees, could be the Dodgers, maybe Chicago, but I don't see it. I think those are really the three teams, other than the Angels, that have the inside track.
Let's talk about the Hall of Fame, as you were a Hall of Fame voter. And Bonds, McGuire, Sosa, those three guys specifically, all because of PEDs. They're in that conversation, but they were the greatest in their day. Do you feel like they should be in the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely. I voted for them every year on the ballot. I have a harder time. First of all, none of those guys you mentioned ever were suspended for PEDs. I'm not saying that they didn't use it. I'm not naive, Bobby. Okay, I'm not naive. It was well used during that era by a lot of players. Some who got caught. Remember, there's a Mitchell report out there of 150 missing names, hidden names that we don't know. I think some of those guys are in the Hall of Fame, and I can't sit here and say Pudge was under suspicion. Jeff Bagwell was under suspicion. Mike Piazza was under suspicion, and they were all in the Hall of Fame. So what are we doing here? Either everybody's out or you put people in. Now, if you got busted by baseball once they changed the rules, like a Manny Ramirez or a Rafael Palmeiro, those guys got busted. Those guys, I understand if a writer doesn't want to vote them in. But the other guys, you can't tell me. Bonds won 3 MVPs before he even went to San Francisco and started with experimenting with the juice. Same thing, Roger Clemens. Go watch the videotape when he was in Boston and won 3 Cy Youngs, and he was skinny as a rail. Mark McGwire got screwed as well. Mark McGwire hit 49 home runs his rookie year. Go watch the tape, Bobby. Go look and see how big he was. This guy was a home run hitter at USC when he was in college. He didn't take the juice and become a home run hitter overnight. So I think people who think that it's just that, and that's what made these guys great, are missing the boat. And the other part is we seem to want to punish the hitters more than anybody. But Bobby, do your research. More pitchers have been busted on juice than hitters, which tells you that Bonds was probably facing a lot of guys on juice when he did his thing.
Pete Rose, different, but the same. What do you got?
No way, no how. Pete Rose, it's a different era. You can't go back. Back then, gambling was persona non grata. The biggest sign in the clubhouse all over America was if you gamble, you're going to be banned from the game. Pete lied about it for 14 years. I think if Pete would have been honest from day one, apologized, asked for forgiveness, he would be in the Hall of Fame. But he lied for 14 years. They had all the goods on him. And then when they, tried to, get him back in the game, then he wrote a book saying that he did it to try to make money. I think Pete Rose, he sabotages his way back in the Hall. Baseball would love to have him in the Baseball Hall of Fame, but Pete's his own worst enemy. So I don't see Pete getting it.
What about after he dies?
No, I don't. Okay. He's already in the Hall of Fame. Have you been to Cooperstown? Pete Rose is everywhere. He's all over Cooperstown, but I don't think he'll have a plaque.
Let's switch it up to the NBA playoffs. The Lakers ceiling. What do you think it is?
Second round. I think they, game one was a great start. When you get 29 points from a bench player and you shoot 54% from the field and 45% from three on a road playoff game, you're going to win that. And now Ja Morant, is he hurt? Is he not going to play? Or how effective will he be? So they have a chance there. But I just think the other teams, I think everybody has discounted the Denver Chicken Nuggets. Everybody thinks that they're no good and what they did all year. I think people are now surprised about the Sacramento Kings, and they've played well all year. And people thought that the Golden State Warriors, who were terrible on the road, were just going to flip a switch and start winning like it's nobody's business, and that hasn't happened. So obviously Phoenix lost game one to the Clippers. They're formidable. And the Clippers have beaten the Lakers like 11 straight times and 35 out of the last 40, some ridiculous number because they match up well against the Lakers. So if they were to meet, I would take the Clippers. So I don't think they're going to get past the second round.
You don't think Reeves and Hachimura are going to be consistently awesome all playoffs?
No, I'm not buying that. They played unbelievable. You
Yeah,
know that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. Listen. I bought him. I bought him. I'm gonna admit it. I bought him. I'm still buying him. I want to talk about Kevin Durant though. If he wins another championship, what do you think that, or does that take him any higher in the all-time greats?
I do. If you can move, move on and win a championship. Remember, the Suns went without Kevin Durant. They weren't able to win. He would be the Mr. Fixer Upper, like when the Warriors choked down that 3-1 lead to the Cavs and LeBron. Kevin Durant went there. They won 2 straight championships. They lost the next one where he was hurt and didn't play. So he got a lot of credit for that, and he would get a lot of credit for this if he was able to get there. I don't know if they've had enough time together to gel and make it work. They might not have enough on the bench to beat the Clippers. I like the Clippers a lot. I think they're 10 deep. I think Ty Lue is a fantastic coach. Living in LA, I've gotten to watch him more and more. I think he's tremendous.
Final question, just kind of about your home, the Lions. What Campbell's doing up there? Do you feel more bullish than you ever have?
No. You know what? I need to see this year. 1 year is not enough. We've seen in the NFL. I mean, everybody's celebrating in Detroit. They were 9-7, right? 9-8, and they did make the playoffs. So let's see if you could take that to the next year and actually improve and make the playoffs. If they do that, then they have something going. If they fall back and it's back to the same old Lions football, I mean, this is a franchise that has one playoff win since 1957, and that was 1991. It's been a long time in coming, so they got to put together more than a random one season where things, were better than they normally are. We need to see 2 or 3 of them, and then I believe they're on the right track.
As I mentioned earlier, he has the site MLBBro.com. He's a founder and editor. He's an MLB Network analyst. Inside the Rob Parker is the podcast on Cowherd's Podcast Network, Inside the Rob Parker. But where I hear him is The Odd Couple with Chris Broussard. You're everywhere. You're right here. I appreciate you. Big fan, Rob, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
All right, Bobby. Thank you so much. We'll talk again.
See you, buddy.